Why won't you speak? Just bring me the truth, mice! I beg you, end this curse!
In the dense forests of ancient Nigeria, a hunter made a discovery that would haunt him forever. What he found wasn't gold, it wasn't treasure, it was something that should have stayed buried. This is the legend of the talking skull. But before we begin, let me ask you this. If you found something impossible, something that defied everything you knew, would you tell anyone? Our hunter made that choice, and it cost him everything. The hunter's name was Olu. He was known throughout his village as the greatest tracker, the bravest man who would venture where others feared to tread. On this particular morning, he went deeper into the forest than he'd ever gone before. The air grew thick, the birds fell silent, and that's when he saw it. Resting against the roots of an ancient baobab tree, a human skull, bleached white by time, half buried in leaves. Most men would have walked away, but Olu was curious. He knelt down, brushed away the dirt, and that's when it happened. The skull's jaw began to move. "Why are you here?" it whispered, its voice like wind through hollow bones. Olu stumbled backward, his spear clattering to the ground, his heart hammered in his chest. Skulls don't speak, the dead don't talk, and yet, I was hunting, Olu stammered. The skull's empty eye sockets seemed to stare right through him. Hunting for what? Game or something more? "What are you?" Olu demanded, finding his courage. "I am what awaits the greedy. I am what becomes of those who cannot leave well enough alone." Olu should have run, should have left that cursed place and never looked back, but instead he did something foolish. He picked up the skull. Olu couldn't stop thinking about what he'd found, a talking skull, proof of magic, of the supernatural. If he showed this to the village, he would be famous. The elders would have to respect him. Perhaps the king himself would reward him. So the next day, he returned to the forest. The skull was exactly where he'd left it. "You came back," it said, almost sadly. "They always come back." "I want to take you to my village," Olu said. "I want to show them what I found." The skull was silent for a long moment. Then, "Do you know how I came to be here, hunter?" "Tell me," Olu said. "I was once like you, a man who found something impossible, a stone that granted wishes. I showed it to everyone. I boasted about my discovery. And do you know what happened?" Olu shook his head. "Greed happened. Jealousy happened. They killed me for that stone, beat me until I was nothing but bones, and when they finally got it, the stone crumbled to dust in their hands. There was never any magic, only their greed, only their violence." "That won't happen to me," Olu insisted. "My people are different." The skull seemed to sigh. "They always say that." But Olu wouldn't listen. He wrapped the skull in cloth and carried it back to his village, his mind racing with visions of glory. Olu gathered the entire village in the center square. The chief, the elders, the warriors, the children, everyone came to see what the great hunter had found. "I have discovered something beyond understanding," Olu proclaimed, holding the wrapped bundle high, proof that the old magic still exists. He unveiled the skull. The crowd murmured. Some laughed, others looked uneasy. "Speak," Olu commanded the skull. "Tell them what you told me." The skull remained silent. "Speak," Olu shouted again, shaking it. Nothing. The villagers began to whisper. Some laughed openly now. The chief frowned deeply. "You bring us a skull and claim it speaks. Have you gone mad from too many days in the forest?" "No, it spoke to me. It warned me about greed." Olu was desperate now, his voice rising. One of the elders stepped forward, his face grave. "To disturb the dead is forbidden. To mock the spirits with such lies is an insult to our ancestors." "I'm not lying," Olu pleaded. "Skull, please tell them." But the skull just stared with empty sockets, its jaw frozen shut. The chief made his judgment. "For desecrating the dead and wasting our time with foolish stories, you are banished. Leave this village and do not return." Olu was forced from his home with nothing but the clothes on his back. The skull, still wrapped in cloth, was thrown after him. As he walked away from the only life he'd ever known, tears streaming down his face, he heard it, that whisper, like wind through hollow bones. "I warned you." Olu spun around. The skull lay on the ground behind him, but now its jaw was moving again. "Why?" Olu screamed. "Why wouldn't you speak when it mattered?" "Because," the skull said, "talking brought me here." And suddenly Olu understood. The skull hadn't warned him about other people's greed. It had warned him about his own, his need to be seen, to be celebrated, to be more than what he was. "What happens now?" Olu whispered. "Now," the skull said, "you wander, as I once did, until you find someone as foolish as yourself, someone who won't listen, someone who thinks they're different." Olu looked down at his hands and saw them beginning to wither, his skin growing tight against his bones. The forest around him began to fade. And when the next hunter found a skull beneath a baobab tree years later, it whispered with Olu's voice, "Why are you here?"
No, what's
The
happening
legend
to me?
says the talking
My
skull
skin is
still
withering!
waits in that forest,
Help me!
still warns, still asks its question. But here's what the story really teaches us. Some knowledge isn't meant to be shared, some mysteries aren't meant to be solved, and sometimes the greatest treasure is knowing when to walk away. What would you do if you found something impossible? Would you have the wisdom to leave it alone? Let me know in the comments below, and if you want more stories like this, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Because trust me, there are darker tales waiting to be told.